Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you were kicking it with GFAMunited, a spot that's all about inspiring you to be salt and light. So without further ado, let's make it do what it do. Hit it.
Hey yo, my God will take a nobody that nobody knows. No matter the clothes, past sins don't matter no more. See, all that matters is the heart and the condition of sin. Hand your life over to Christ and leave the rest up to Him. We call that salvation, no need for decoration. Come as you are, embrace the Lord, then a celebration. A new life, a new plan, and a new direction. How beautiful are the feet of those that bring His message.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today we got the boys in the building.
Yeah.
Two brothers that serve alongside me in our local church.
Yes, sir.
We got Joel, he's back.
That's right, back. Happy to be here.
Yes, sir.
Happy to be here.
Then we got Nick, and no, he's not one of the Hodge twins,
No.
even though he could be kin. Nick, what's good, man?
No, man, good. Glad to be here. Happy to be here. This is my first time, man, so I appreciate the invite.
Yes, sir.
No, definitely not a Hodge twin. Trust me on that one.
Man, I know someone had to have brought it up at one point. Like,
Yeah, a lot. Especially when I was at Planet Fitness.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man, they bring it up all the time.
Who are the,
them boys is wild.
who are the Hodges?
We'll tell you about it later,
No.
man.
I'm usually up to date. I feel terrible. I'm like, yep. You ever do that when people ask you something you don't want to be embarrassed of?
You're like, oh, yeah.
Heck yeah.
Just
Yeah.
laugh with it
Hey,
and keep it going.
Yeah, so I just Hodged you guys.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
For sure.
You do look just like
Yeah, just like them.
Gosh, twins.
I definitely appreciate y'all taking the time, man, to
Yeah.
come out and just chop up the subject with us. So, season 2, we made it all about faith. So we've been bringing on different people to come on and just talk about what faith is, the importance of faith, the impact that faith has on our life when we walk by faith, the impact that faith has on other people when they observe the actions you take, living by faith, and so forth. So, I wanted to start off by just asking a question to you guys. When it comes to your faith, how long have you been in the faith? How long have you been a believer?
I'll take the first answer on that one.
Let's go.
So I think it's a little bit different for me. Just kind of growing up, it's just with a family that's not really into the church. At the time, my father is now, but at the time it was just kind of work and school, got to make money, no time. So that's just how it was. So for me, I was in the church as a teenager, out of the church. When I was in Iraq, I was really heavy into it. So I found myself sometimes, and I'm not proud of it, but coming to God in moments where I was scared, I guess. And then kind of coming out of it, out of the military, had a long break for myself, had a kind of a probably 2010 to about 2020, 21. I mean, to be honest, about 20. And during that time, it wasn't like a lack of faith. It was just, I didn't know what to have faith in.
Yeah.
Like I believed in God. I just didn't know. There was a lot of information coming at me at the time. And if you're on the internet or you're watching stuff like that, it's very easy to take things that sound right
Yeah.
or that sound close to right and start thinking, well, that applies to me or that works for me. And so I think it was a tough period. So probably actively back in it, probably 4 years.
Okay.
Yep.
No. Nick, what about you?
Man, I've been in church all my life. I can't think of a time where I wasn't in church, especially when my grandmother was alive. She was a missionary, and if anybody knows anything about the work of missionaries, they are in church 24/7. So I was one of those kids that grew up in church, Monday through Sunday.
Yeah.
Sermons sometimes 3 times on a Sunday. So when I say all my life, I truly mean all my life, but you really don't understand the impact that it has until you become an adult and then you start looking at Christianity and faith. Well, I just say faith through a different lens, especially when you hit a wall. Joel talks about the time where he, was dealing with what to believe in. I was going hard, and Joel could tell you, I was inviting him to church, and he'd be like, "Nah, I'm good." But then there was this event that happened where I just was like, "Nah, I'm done with church." So I would say me getting back into it actually less time, probably actively in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And this really just becomes from the impact that's been happening in Center City. So, it can happen to anybody, even if you've been in church your whole life, you're always going to have a moment where you're going to get tested.
Yeah.
And it's about how we handle that test. And I can truly say I didn't handle it well.
Did you lose your faith in God during that time, or you just lost your faith in the church?
I lost my faith in the church. But it waned because I had a lot of questions like, God, if this is where I'm supposed to be at, why do I feel this way? Or why would you put me through this? Knowing that as hard as I was going, that it was for you, but not realizing that that's where the test comes from.
Right.
You think about anybody in the Bible, any character in the Bible, you pick one, they're going to go through something, even when they're at their highest. I always think about Job, what he went through, right? Not that I share a similar story, but in some ways I felt the same way that Job did.
Yeah, Job was one of those characters I was like, Lord, I don't want a story like his.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah.
Pass.
When I go to work, I think I think his name was Job because that's how I be feeling at work. Like I be feeling like Job here at Job.
So follow-up question then. How has your faith impacted your life right now? Like what has been the effect of you choosing to live in the faith?
Personally, the effect that it's had for me it's been huge. It's been effective in the instance of my home, like how it's affecting my household. I mean, because my kids follow what you do, and that's a fact. And I kind of thought that, but when I decided to dive into the church, with Center City and stuff, the kids were like not having it because I spent their whole life telling them that, aliens, like all this stuff. I mean, it sounds crazy, but thinking about all that stuff, and I spent, my whole time like standing on that because I don't know, it was just where I was at.
Yeah.
So the hard part was that, but man, I found that just by trusting in God and having faith in it. I mean, shoot, it was a few months and both my kids were saved. I mean, it was just, so that was a huge thing, and it has affected the way that they act and how they live their lives.
Yeah.
So pretty big.
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of work, and I would say recovery work because, again, going hard full time at church, kids are going with me, and then I turn around and become this guy that now is saying negative things towards the church. I mean, I literally said I'll never step foot in church again, and the same way that he has an impact, you don't understand the type of impact that has on your kids. In some ways, I still feel guilty because I feel like, man, not only did I rob myself, but I robbed them an opportunity for them to find their own faith. And so now I'm just kind of doing the work of recovery or getting them back in. And I got to say, they bounced back extremely well, especially my oldest, Peyton. I mean, right now she's on the summer trip.
Yes, sir.
Harper is excited about now being able to go to, the kids get-togethers on the Fridays and the Wednesdays. And so I see it coming back, but understanding my wife is still waning. And a lot of it really has to do with the influence that I had because there were times when she was like, well, let's go to church. And I'm like, nah, I ain't going to church.
Yeah.
I'm not going, y'all not going. And so when I say recovery, truly we're on the path to recovery. Because again, you just don't understand how in anger, how it really affects your family as a whole.
Yeah. So I feel like when it comes to our faith, there's so many questions we need to have an answer to, but two big ones. One of them being purpose. Like, what is my purpose?
Right.
So you guys know I got 4 kids. You got more than
I know I did.
Yo, 4. Joe got a bench, man.
You the vet right here, man. The veteran.
No.
You got 5 kids, right?
Sounded good though. Yeah.
5, 4. How many you got?
I got 3.
3. Look at that. 5, 4, 3.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah. How old are you?
How old am I?
Yeah.
Let's say 49 minus 9.
Okay, 40.
Yep.
Nick?
40.
40. I'm 27, so that's about.
Dang. Young.
Carry 2.
You were born having
42.
babies.
What were you,
I had a
5?
kid when I was born.
Oh man. So we had 4 kids. We homeschooled all of our kids. So like when it comes to graduation times, we kind of get to like really just celebrate them, focus on them, do a ceremony all about them, which is kind of dope. In the beginning, it was a little nerve-wracking because we're like, man, I want to create something for them. I hope people show up.
Yeah, who's gonna come?
Because if
That's
no
the
one
question.
show up, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So Dominic graduated in 2022. Adi graduated last year. So I graduated this year. And we've just been fortunate to have friends, family come through always and support. And in that time, like I get to just share just my heart along with other people on stage. And one of the things that I make it a point to stress when I talk to them is to address their purpose. Like faith, religion, there's so many different messages being sent out there. And I felt like I need to clearly communicate to them what their purpose is before someone else or before they try to discover someone else.
For sure.
Because that is that is an answer everyone is seeking for. They're trying to figure out what their purpose is. So as believers of Christ, followers of the faith, like, we all share the same exact purpose. And that could be for some, like, it kind of shake them to the core because you don't really hear that. So I would tell them, like I would tell you, like, our purpose is to glorify God ultimately. Now, the way I worded it to them was, your purpose is to know him and then to make him known to other people. But it's one and the same. Right. When I say the shorter version is, our purpose is to glorify him. So as I get to know him, because he wants me to know him, I kind of I fall in love with him. I see how good he is. But naturally I want to tell other people about how good he is, how he's been ministering to me, how he's just came through. I want to live a life that pleases him. I want to live a life that shows respect to him, that just appreciates him. And that's what glory is, living a life that brings him glory. So whether I say my life is to bring him purpose, to know him and to make him known, or to bring him glory, they're one and the same. And the reason I say that is because for us as believers, like, that's one of the first things we have to realize. Like, my purpose in life is to bring him glory. Glory is not a term that we usually use often. So people can hear that answer and not fully grasp what that means. But it's about giving him respect. It's about thanking him. It's about living a life that is grateful to him. The other big question I think we have to have an answer to is, what is my calling? Yeah. And I think we could interchange the two very easily. Right. So your purpose explains why something exists. What is the reason for its being? So our purpose is our very being for being here. The calling becomes that invitation to express. It's our expression of what that purpose is. So each one of us will have a different calling to live out that purpose in our lives. Is that something that you feel like you've grasped? Like, I know what my calling is.
I thought I did until I got to Center City and until I went to a men's trip, not once but twice. Yeah. And it really changed. Yeah, I mean, shout out, man. I'm telling you, as a man, if you haven't been on one of these trips, you got to go.
Can we go to the beach next time like the kids did?
I do kind of want to go.
That'd be dope.
Different.
I'm down.
That'd be dope. No, no, but seriously, first of all, the learning, the amount of knowledge that I gained on both trips has just been immaculate, because the one thing I can say is, growing up in church all your life, you listen to the sermon, but you don't really take in what's happening, right? And I always call it the show, because it's so much showmanship and pizzazz and the lights and the drama and the action. You get kind of distracted by that. Yeah. So that when the word comes, you're really burnt out. I've been in choir since I was 5, and kind of after I would come off stage, I was just kind of like, all right, I'm just chilling, because I know I got to get up in the next 20 minutes and sing again after singing for an hour and a half. And so now that I'm actually away from all that, my mind is now geared to actually listen to what's being said. And so for a long time, I thought it was just being on stage singing. And then I thought it was just, I got to be behind the pulpit, when I've realized that, those that have heard my poem, where I say my so-called talent was always a gift, I had to realize it was a gift. And that, I could sing all day long, but then I discovered my talent came in a different way, and it came in the word, just expressing myself on paper. And then using that inspiration to hopefully inspire somebody else. And now I see that just as my way of glorifying him. And I don't have to worry about the showmanship of it, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's something that's personal to me, but also can be a blessing to somebody else at the same time. So called to write, called to use, spoken word, in any way that he leads me to use it.
Yeah. Dope. Whew. It's a big question. I think
it is.
I think it gets, because I was thinking about it, it gets more challenging the older you get.
Yeah, that's the thing.
When you're younger, you're so ambitious.
And there's always,
I'm called to do this, and you got time. So if you totally flop,
recover.
You got time.
That's
we're in our 40s. And it's almost like, I don't have time to miss this. I don't got time to waste going in this direction, only to realize, I'm really trash at this. I need to do something else.
Yeah.
So it is way more challenging the older we get to try to entertain that question of, so what is my calling?
But I want to say something to that too. And I think sometimes we could be led down the wrong path for the calling. I think people can see us doing a certain thing in a certain season and then be like, yeah, that's it. You need to continue to do that. You can't do anything else. And that happens a lot too. Influence is not only in the world, but influence is also within the church. And I don't think people mean anything wrong by that, but if you don't take the time to find out for yourself, somebody's going to tell you. And I don't want to necessarily say they trash at it, but it never was for you. It was really just for what somebody saw in you.
Because humans are humans.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we look at what we see, and if you do something well, clearly we're like, yo, stick with that.
Do
Run
that.
with that.
That's true.
None of us were the creators, the designer. So I believe sometimes God gives you a gift because he knows it's going to bring you joy using that gift. But it's not what he's wanting you to pour your whole life into. So with you, like, what's the wrestle right now?
It's tough.
Trying to answer, like, are you hesitant to want to try to answer it? And I don't mean like right now on the podcast.
No,
I just mean
in general.
Like, is it?
I think it's identifying something is easy. I mean, not easy, but it's easy to say, hey, this is what this is. But a lot of times it's hard to figure out how to utilize that. Right? I've used comedy my whole life. I use it now. It's just the way I talk. It helps me get through things, and it helps me communicate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I understand, what the gifts of God has given me. I just don't understand how to utilize them sometimes. Because I get scared. I know it sounds crazy, but I get scared that I'm not prepared. I get scared that I'm not ready. I get scared that maybe I haven't put the time in. I don't know. There's and there shouldn't be, because I should have just faith and trust that it's gonna go right. But it's still hard.
Yeah, I think sometimes faith is key for us, no doubt. But it's almost like we make faith be that one antidote that answers everything. There is still this nerve-wracking process. Like, faith only exists when you confront a situation and you're almost terrified by it. It is in those moments where you choose to step in faith. If you weren't even hesitant, or if it didn't scare you, if you weren't nervous and you were confident, I don't know if you could say that was faith, more so than it was just, I just know what I can do, and I'm doing it. So I think when faith is involved, it's almost like something seems either bigger than you, and it's causing you to lean on your faith in God and what he's calling you to do, trusting that, God, if this is what you want me to do, to God be the glory. If it doesn't work out, my heart is genuinely, I'm trying to discover what you're wanting me to do. And God gets glory even in your attempts to discover what it is that he's calling you to do.
It's crazy you say that, because I'm gonna be honest. When we were in Elizabeth, I almost didn't go up. Because I was that scared. Because I just felt like, and Joel could tell you, I felt like that was the most important thing I'd ever done, beyond anything I've ever done. And I remember sitting in the stool wrestling on, I can't go up there. I can't do this. This is too big.
And it was dope.
But exactly what you said. It was just about going in there. And I'm gonna tell you, even when I was on stage, like the vomit was just bubbling. I was just like, Lord, please don't let me puke on stage. But once I got into it, I mean, there was just this I don't even know what to call it. There's this something just came over me, and I just felt like for the first time in my life, I did something bigger than myself. And I just felt the impact, deep in a just a place that I'd never been in before. And almost to the point to where I don't even remember getting through it. I just remember getting to the end and being in tears and being like, what just happened, So, Joel, I could tell you, man, beyond the jokes, what I see in you is a storyteller.
It's just the standards, though. You hold such high standards to yourself.
But I say that because you're flawless at what you do, and people definitely react to your stories, but you do it in a way that, and I always say this, right, gets to the heart of who you are. Every story that you tell is going to teach out and touch somebody in their heart because it's coming from your heart. And I believe that's where your calling lies.
Well, I appreciate that.
And I think that because you don't know that, it's more genuine and more pure. And again, this is just from what I see, but also I know you too.
The hardest thing for me is, even when I come up with something, I think something's like, oh, this will be good. I have such a high standard for what I want to present or what I feel like I should present to represent what I'm trying to represent, that I trash a lot of it. Even if that's not, you just don't know. So I don't know. It's just been it's been different. It's been tougher.
So the follow-up question then would be, and I know because you're still in that place discovering it, like, do you feel you are where you're called to be in life right now?
I feel like I'm close to where I need to be. I think there's still answers, but it's going to take work for myself.
Yeah.
But I also realize that I'm not going to get fully there until my family is secure in that. And not just as a family, but as individuals. Again, because of the things that I've done in the past and because we're on the path to recovery for it, I just know right now I just have to lean into God more so for my family than for myself. But I believe that once that lines up and I have my family behind me and we're all on the same page, then I'll be in the place where God needs me to be at.
So let me just...
I was going to ask that with clarification on the question.
Yeah, I'll clarify that and say the follow-up to yours. Have you ever had the conversation with them where you just express, I was wrong?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's such a...
Yeah.
For our family, I think it's such an encouraging thing for them to see, especially the father, say that and see them make the steps to get back on path. Because the last thing you want to do is keep feeling like you're making amends for something. Like, because that's not the way God treats us. I think for them to see you say, I missed it, I was hurt and I reacted to this.
Yeah.
And I was wrong and I'm moving back. I don't know if you get a greater life lesson than that for them to see it while they're still under your roof. And they can be like, when they face their own thing, they've learned from one of their greatest examples of, I kind of know where this can lead me. My pops already showed me the right way. So I think just continue doing what you're doing. I don't think there's anything else you have to do. I think just giving them their time, they will naturally find their rhythm as well. As you say, you know, your daughter's at the camp, which is a big step for her. I've seen her more on Wednesday nights. I don't go there that often. No. But the couple of times I went, I saw her there. Like, I think it's just naturally happening. Yeah. So you said to clarify the question?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a twofold. So it's like, when I say, do you feel that you are where God has called you to be? In one sense, it is where I'm at right now in my life, Center City, my job, my position that I hold in my family, and it's also the other part would be naturally, am I doing what He's called me to do? Right. Like I already know you're still discovering that. So, but the part of, do you feel you're at where God has called you to be?
I mean, in the twofold, let's address the front part and then the back part.
Yeah.
No, I don't feel like I'm where I need to be yet. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I have a lot of growing to do, a lot of growth to do. To be a better example, it takes a lot more too. Like, I still struggle with a lot of stuff, you know, that dang, I wish I didn't, or I wish I could control more of the way that I respond or do certain things. Mm-hmm. So no, I don't think I'm at a place where I think I should be at yet. Yeah. I think it's still progress. Yeah. And that's scary though, being 40. Like the stuff like that, like that's what I mean when we're talking about age and stuff, like that stuff gets scary, man. When I'm 40, like you said, even when I was 39, I know it's so dumb, but even when I was 39,
it's real.
I still had a future. Like I know it sounds dumb, like in my mind, it was like I still
40 is
have
a game changer.
Yeah. Like and now, like I see things and I'm like, man, I gotta hurry up, or I gotta get this going, or I gotta do this or this and that. No. And I'm not really running out of time. I mean, you're not. I mean, if I live another 40 years, that's 2 lifetimes. If I consider 40 as my lifetime, and then whatever. But so I don't think I'm there yet. I think it's a lot more, more mentorship. I need that for sure. More discipleship and just more on my own. I need to continue to do more research. Yeah.
So I always like having questions about purpose and calling because, again, it forces us to look back at our faith. Yeah. Like our faith has to be what we build on in order to fully grasp that. Let me bring this grandeur picture of what purpose is. Let me bring it back. Let me simplify it. Because at the end of the day, we make purpose be about what we do. Yeah. And that's problematic because what you do can change, which then means you have no purpose, no identity. Yeah. So my purpose is all about bringing glory to Him. My calling is about figuring out how I express that calling purpose of mine. So I always enjoy having conversation like that because, again, it makes you look back to the Creator, makes you ask some important questions. When it comes to the faith, this is one thing we could never avoid. And for me, it has been one of the most challenging things to be in. And that's when you're having to be in a place of waiting, when you're waiting. Not sure when something will happen, not sure how that thing will happen, not sure exactly where. Is it here? Am I supposed to take a step of faith and go there?
Yeah.
So being in that place of waiting becomes terrifying in a lot of ways. And then wondering what are you even going to do, God, like in the midst of this?
Yeah.
So my question would be, have you felt like you've ever been in a place of waiting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still there. Yeah. No. Yeah. I've been.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I live in that place right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you, like you say, you identify something, and you go to the men's retreats, and we do these things, and you learn a lot more about yourself, and then you're like, okay, this is, you have kind of like an awakening kind of,
Yep.
Okay, here we go, and then I don't know. I think we have. We build high standards for ourselves. Mm-hmm. Like, I have to do it like this. I have to do it like this. I have to do it like this. I have to do it like that. And it's easy for me to if I miss those dates, or if I don't do the things that I said I am, or that I want to do, to think that, well, nothing is going to happen because I'm not doing the things that I'm supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So then it's like a form of waiting. And then when I start to do it correctly and it still doesn't happen, it does create some kind of what's called within myself where I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I think it, yeah. Lost for words there.
No, I think I'm right there with you. I know for me, it's more or less what I'm waiting for. I know something's coming. I know there's something that God wants me to do. He just hasn't revealed it yet. Mm-hmm. But I think it's because he knows that I'm in recovery, and I may not be strong enough at this moment to receive whatever he gives me. So turning the corner, right? Finding that calling. It's okay. What now that I'm doing this? What's next? Mm-hmm. What do I wait? What am I supposed to do? And so, no, that's the wait, right? They say patience is a virtue. It doesn't feel virtuous in that moment, but all I can do is just pray every day that I am ready. Yeah. Whatever it is that God has me to do. And I don't believe that it's something grand. I just know that whatever it is that he's crafted for me, it's going to be big, more likely for myself and whatever move that I make. So yeah, I think in that moment it's just okay, God, what am I waiting for? So how do you feel you've handled being in the waiting? Looking back at you waiting, how do you feel you're doing when it comes to waiting? I'm finding myself definitely praying a lot more in that preparation. I have developed a new thirst for the word. I probably told you I've been in Romans, but I just keep coming back to Romans. I don't know why. I just can't seem to get out of it. I moved to 1 John for a little bit, but then bam, I'm right back in Romans. And so I think that's just where I need to be at and navigate through Romans and really just take a deep dive into what God's trying to tell me. And I think in that preparation, whatever it is he has for me, then hopefully I'll be ready until he's ready to meet for the shift and move. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's crazy. It's just, when something's coming, you're just not sure what it is. I know it's going to be great, whatever it is, because I don't believe God will give me something that, won't be impactful. But I just want it to be in the right place. And I don't want it to be motivated by self. When I truly say I want to pour out self and whatever it is, I want it to be the Holy Spirit to be involved. And like you said, I want God to get the glory for it. Yeah. I don't want anything that I do to reflect Nick. I want to reflect through Nick and really be that conduit like Ashley talked about. Yeah. Were you going to say something before? I don't know.
No, I was how are we doing with waiting?
Yeah, how are you personally doing with waiting? Like, you feel like you've been in the waiting. So that's something you're familiar with. Do you currently feel like you're in a place where you're waiting for God to do something or to reveal something, or?
I don't know. I think that I'm definitely someone's breaking into your truck.
It is a nice truck.
No, on the inside. So
Softball
Hand
ready.
cranks.
No.
I think I do well at waiting, because I am happy, and I do love the Lord, and I do love where I am, where my life is. Like I never wake up angry with God.
Yeah.
I wake up every day grateful and thankful that I'm here, and when I pray, I appreciate everything that is given to me, and whether it's something to, like to present to people or just something personal, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I love going to church. I love reading the Bible. I love talking about God. I just don't know what I'm waiting for. I don't know, like,
Yeah.
maybe I just don't know. Like, I don't know what to look for, what I'm waiting for. Hopefully something good.
Yeah, of course.
Always.
It will be significant, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's funny because I go through waves when it comes to the waiting. In one sense, I'm like, I'm good. I'm content. God is all I need. Something can happen, and that's right out the window.
Right.
I'm not content. I am frustrated.
That's a fact.
Lord, when are you going to do this?
Yeah.
I've been there plenty of times where I've literally had to say to myself, what other option do I have?
Yeah.
I either choose to wait faithfully, trusting and believing there's more that he's going to do, or I just quit. I quit. And I'm like, I ain't doing this no more. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm just working.
Yeah.
I'm working, providing, and that's it. And that thought scares me because I don't know who I am outside of being in the will of the Father. Like, you take me out of living a life that brings him glory. I don't know who that person will be.
Yeah.
Choosing not to live by faith no more because I'm frustrated. I don't know who that person would be. So the waiting, I go in waves because there's moments where I'm like, man, I'm good. I'm content. God, you're showing me at the end of the day, this is what matters. And I'm reminded of that. So if I wasn't in a place of the waiting, it wouldn't reveal to me what truly matters.
No.
But waiting can become so challenging and difficult, but we know that God is in the waiting. Like, he is truly in the waiting. And it's in that waiting where our faith grows. It's in that waiting where we gain a deeper understanding and appreciation for his plan, for his timing, for his will. Lamentations 3:25 says, the Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. Like, we find ourselves growing in the Lord when our faith is being tested.
Yeah.
And we know that. But when we go through something that truly tests our faith, you're not necessarily considering it pure joy,
Right, yeah.
my brothers,
no.
when you face trials of many kinds.
No.
But we understand that tension is the only way growth occurs.
Yeah.
Friction. And so we want to grow. I want to grow to be more like you, Lord. Help me to be reminded of that when I find myself in a place where I want to act out and I'm like, I need to respond to this thing the way the Lord would want me to respond. I look at 1 Peter 1:6-7. It says, so be truly glad. There is wonderful joy ahead, even though you must endure many trials for a little while. These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purified gold, though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. So when your faith remains strong through many trials, it will bring you much praise, and it will bring you much praise and glory and honor on the day when Jesus Christ is revealed to the whole world. Knowing God is in the waiting, there are times where it does make it easier. Knowing he's in the waiting doesn't change at times how difficult it is. 2 songs that we sing that always stands out and ministers to me. One is Yes, I Will. We did this one. I think we did this one yesterday. We did this one at service.
Yes, we did.
I count on one thing, the same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now. In the waiting, the same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out.
Yeah.
To be reminded of that as we're waiting, as you're waiting to discover, God, what is, like, give me the confidence to step out and know what my calling is. Because reality is, maybe there's a part of you that kind of knows already, but there's not the confidence in it. As you're waiting to see what's next, knowing that in the waiting, God is never late.
Yeah.
He never fails me. He always comes through. Even in the moment where maybe you found yourself in a place where you're like almost angry at him because he is not moving. After he moved, you look back and you were like, what do you almost always say? He was right on time.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever had a testimony, nor have I heard one where I was like, I'm grateful that he did it, but dang it, he should have done that thing a month earlier. These scars are because he came through late.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
But I've always been around and I've experienced almost white knuckling something, almost like, what are you doing? I need you now. I need you yesterday. He comes through and you're like, God is always on time.
Always on time.
You know, it's another song that ministers to me, Take Courage. And the title of that song, it's like, it ministered to me because it says, take courage, my heart, stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope as your triumphs unfold. He's never failing. He's never failing. The idea that it takes courage to wait and to wait well. Because I think fear sometimes wants us to jump ship, deviate, and say, he ain't, clearly God isn't in this, or he would have done it by now, and I'm going to do something else. Sometimes it takes courage to stay the course, especially if you've been staying the course for like years, and people are like, golly, you still waiting? Like, you still don't know?
Yeah.
Like, it takes courage in the midst of all that to say, no, he is faithful. He never fails. He never lets me down. He's never late. Like, it does take courage because our pride is on the line. People looking, people talking, people wondering. Maybe he totally missed it.
Yeah.
He probably thinks God is going to do something crazy. Like, this is as good as it's going to get for him.
I think pride's a big deal.
Yeah,
I think
pride is
pride's-
ego.
especially when you see,
Yeah.
like, let's say we all start at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have the same ideas. And then you start going. And then you start going. And I'm still sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
It does create that friction. I think it can cause that too.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of being human that makes it super hard
Yeah.
to wait. And it's easy to tell somebody to wait. Like, you know,
sure.
me and my wife
Oh,
have
yeah.
conversations all the time.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know, and she has a degree, a bachelor's degree from a school.
From Southeast.
Yeah, from Southeastern.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, in her mind, like, she's like, this is not my, I should be doing my calling. And I'm, all I can say is to be patient.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, though, to where we are. We just had children. We just got married not too long ago, and so the timing would not be right.
Yeah.
100%. But still, it's hard for her to hear because when she went to school and decided this is what she was going to do, or when she felt this was what she was going to do on her heart, I'm sure she didn't think that when she turned 27, she'd still be trying to figure it out. Especially when you graduate when you're 21, I mean, I'm 40, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
What did she feel her calling was?
ministry, but she's not sure in what way,
Yeah.
right? And so, which is understandable. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like I trained her, I was like, dude, you're young. You're not even 40 yet. You got time to go. No, but
So true. So true.
yeah. But it's easy to say than
Of course.
way harder to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait on the Lord.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, I'm reminded of Isaiah 40:31, and it says that, but those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not get weary. They shall walk and not faint. It's so true.
Yeah.
You talk about the scars that we get, but it seems like as soon as God does that thing, what happens? Immediately we feel better. There's
fresh
that.
wind.
Oh, man,
Feeling
thank you,
good.
God. Like
Yeah.
my boy came through, right?
Won't
So,
he do it?
Yeah, he every time. Yes, he will. No, but it's just there is that renewal, right? If you've ever gone through something, even in life, right? You think about, if you've been involved in these sports, you win that game, immediately how do you feel? You have this sense of, oh man, I didn't think we was gonna do it, but we did it, right? Yep. And I think really that's really God at the end just saying, told you I got you.
Yeah.
Feel better, right? Yeah. What'd you learn, right? And what do? Turn around and do the same thing, But I think also too is that faith has to be connected to the human experience, right? I think there's this unrealistic idea of that in your faith, you got to surpass your humanity when really at the end of the day, Jesus was human, right? He was just a better portion human, but he went through the same emotions that we went through. And I think sometimes when we try to remove that part of ourselves, we end up kidding ourselves. We end up fooling ourselves, thinking that, oh, I can get through this. I won't let that affect me, when really it is affecting you. I know I was talking to Joel about this, not to get off subject, but I think one of the hardest things that we navigate is faith and mental health.
Yeah. That's a hard one.
There's really, that I haven't seen in the Bible, that really covers how do you deal with that. I mean, when we talk about Joel, that's fight or flight, right? We were conditioned for that. We were never taught how to undo it, right? And here we are now in a new phase in life where faith is evolved, but now we've also got to fight mental issues and mental health, because it's real. I mean, for anybody to say, oh, that's just, it's a tough time, you need to get over it. You can't just get over it. I wish that was possible, but, and this could be a whole nother series, but I felt like that was something that was on my heart even before I got here, right? And just, because that's the other navigation of it, right? With scars comes trauma, right? And there's a such thing as church hurt and those type of things that some people even right now are trying to navigate through. So really, as we go in our calling, we can't forget the human experience. We can't forget that we all have been there.
Yeah.
And we can't get so high on ourselves and feel like we're above that, or above really getting down at the same level as somebody else.
But the Bible does do a good job at painting a picture that faith without works is dead. So
Absolutely.
works becomes the natural output of what's internal.
Yeah.
So there has to be some outward stuff that is happening as a result of your faith. Some I think will be easier than others.
Yeah.
Just a byproduct of my confidence and trust in the Lord. Other actions, you might be trembling as you're taking that next step, but you're still taking that step in faith. I definitely feel like we are in so many different trials right now, because clearly, if we looked at anxiety and depression, the Bible clearly talks about the anxious spirit. I just don't think we ever thought about it in that same way. Do not be anxious about anything. Yeah. So we hear that, and I just think it's almost like I just want this so bad. I just want this so bad. I just want this so bad. But oftentimes, anxiousness is truly a form of anxiety, and it's not always anxious for something good.
No.
It oftentimes is that anxiousness of that thing that you're dreading. I pray to God it does not happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Or this feeling is coming on again.
Yeah.
So
Which I'd lived there.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
The fear of
being
there can cause you the same knot.
Yeah.
And that can cause you to run.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people do run. Mm-hmm. Because they get so anxious and scared and don't know what to do, or sometimes they feel they're not worthy enough.
Yeah.
For
Can't
that
run
thing.
for long. I can't run for long.
Yeah. But you can't. No.
Like 3 minutes.
You cannot. Yeah.
Like 3 minutes on sprint.
Winded.
Done. That's another thing came at
This
40.
is going to grab you sprint, then
40.
walk it off, and then
Yeah. And then hitting those. Yeah. That's why I do hit cardio right now.
Yeah.
He ain't paying attention.
Yeah.
He got his head down over there.
Yeah. So I think there's just so many different ways that we'll see our faith being played out.
Sure.
And when I think it comes into waiting, I feel like that place truly it becomes an opportunity where we can see the greatest growth in our life. Not to beat a dead horse, but if we looked at depression and anxiety, many people are in this waiting state, praying they will get through this, get over this.
Yeah.
Not knowing they've been there for so long, they are certain that they're just going to live with it for the rest of their lives.
Oh, sure.
We look at Paul, and the Bible talks about Paul having this thorn in his flesh.
Yeah.
There's all types of talk as to what that is. Some thought it was a physical ailment. Some say it was literally a mental thing. None of us know what that was that he was pleading and begging for the Lord to remove from the side. He came to a place where he realized, though, where I'm weak, I'm able to experience the strength of the Lord in my life like I never had before. Yeah. When you're looking at the waiting, there are so many people that we could look at throughout Scripture that have waited. And when I say they waited, I mean they waited.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at how God's in the waiting, a couple different things we can see how God uses the waiting. God will always use the waiting to increase in us our trust in him.
Yeah.
It's a hard lesson, though, because especially looking at us in our 40s, like there is this feeling of that sand in the hourglass seems to be moving a little bit quicker, and Lord, I don't got this much time. I don't have that much time before I'm like, I can't move on my own. Like, Lord, if you're going to use me now. so in our place, it's learning how to trust God, that he knows the right timing, that he knows what needs to be done inside of our hearts in order for us to be used by him in the way that he wants us to be used. So we're having to learn how to let go of control. And as men, we want to steer the ship. We want to know where we're going at all times. But when it comes to living by faith, there are times where you're not going to always know. You're not going to have the control. So the waiting reminds us we're at God's mercy. And that's challenging at times. But other times it is encouraging to know I don't have to be in control. He's in control. So you learn how to trust him more. God uses the waiting to tear down any idols. And idols is just a term we don't really think of much.
Yeah.
Like, when's the last time you've been assessing in your life what idols you've built? But we've all put things above God at times, the things that we turn to more than him. When things are kind of escalating, what do I turn to? Is it something to just take my mind off of it? Is it, I'm just going to do this, I'm going to do this? Is that I run to him? A lot of times when we're in the waiting, it reveals to us what we tend to cling to, what becomes our crutch. Those things can become idols in our lives. And God allows the waiting to reveal those things so we can tear those things down. God will always use the waiting to make us humble. And that sucks too.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Just being humble, waiting. But there is something just so liberating when you find yourself being more humble in life. The pressure is not on me.
Yeah.
I don't have to come up with this game-changing idea. I don't have to impress the world to believe. Either they will believe or they won't. It's not on me. Even if I do create the best whatever, if they did turn to the Father, it was the Spirit through the gift that he's given me, not my gift necessarily that turned them to him. So in the waiting, it does make us humble. It does cause us to turn to him. The waiting reveals our need for him. And like, Lord, I need you. I need you more than anything else. I don't need anything else. I need you. And then the waiting makes us more patient. And that's another virtue that we want. But in order to build that virtue, that means you got to go through something that's going to force you to choose or to grow in patience, which oftentimes it is a tension that is so uncomfortable, even unbearable at times.
Yeah.
But that's the only way you can build patience. Psalms 27:14, wait for the Lord, be strong, and let your heart take courage, wait for the Lord. So when we look at the Bible, let's look at a couple different people that we could see they've been in the waiting. If you can think of one, you can throw one in the mix. I'm one person that I always think about is Abraham and Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
They with the baby, God told them you're gonna have a child, and he tells Sarah, and they're getting at the age where they're old, and they had to wait 25 years for a son. From the 25 years from the moment he says you're gonna have a son, hey, I got you. You're gonna have a son. Imagine 6 months pass. You're thinking, okay, it is coming. A year. Don't worry, God say it's coming. 2 years. 5 years, 10 years. Like, dude, I don't know how you could stay in the waiting like that for 25 years and not get angry with God and not think you're humiliating me. You're making a fool out of me. Like, I told everyone this is what you're going to do. 25 years. And they finally have their son. That's the waiting. That's crazy.
Yeah. Extreme.
We look at his son, Isaac, the one that he was waiting for. He waited 20 years to have children. Not too far from his pop's story.
Yeah.
20 years. Faith is something that I always I feel like that's something I cling to, and that is something that I do solid in. I'm solid in it. And I don't know how. I would definitely say, so 2013, I planted a church.
Yeah.
2015, 2 years in, it just wasn't working out. My wife was My wife was really overwhelmed. It was tough. We were in our second location trying to get this service to go. We were meeting at 4:00. That time sucks.
Afternoon?
Yes.
Oof.
Because we had a rent from another church. So that's confusing.
Yeah.
I put the banner out right after y'all finished, and they never see that banner again until 2 hours before our service is back up. Wow. 2015, we officially closed. And we're in 2024. And I'm kind of like, at times I wonder like what the next thing is. Now, granted, along the way, I've been fortunate to be able to help and serve and minister, and I love what we're doing at Fight Camp. I love just what God is doing with the men, the heart of the men. I feel like men truly are in a place where they are under attack. Their leadership, their role. Even as I say it, you can have some people that roll their eyes like, man, please. I get it. Yeah. I get it. We've abused the mess out of our place, out of our authority. History shows that. Nonetheless, there is still this plan that God has for men to lead well, to be the head and so forth. And so I see the challenges in that, and I love what God is doing with that. But if I'm honest, I still look back and I'm like, Lord, I went to seminary, and I'm like, Lord, there has to be something else. So in one sense, I've been in the waiting in this specific area for almost 10 years. So I'm like,
where's my baby?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because every year when it reaches in my book, the anniversary of when the church would have been, it's almost like mourning a child that passed.
Oh, sure. Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm like, man, this year we would have been this many years. We would have been going strong. But what I am grateful for is that through it, I think it has drawn me closer to him. If I'm not careful, like any of us, we could make what we do, our ministry, be about us and not about him.
Yeah.
But I look at these guys and I'm like, wow, 10 years, that's still kind of a lot. 9 years right now, that's a lot. And I'm like, thank you, Lord, for still allowing me to be in a good place, a good mental space, emotionally, spiritually, where I still trust him. I trust him probably more now than ever because he's been faithful. And I'm able to now see him move even through my kids' life, which is a blessing. But I think part of that is I want to make sure that I set the right example to anyone watching and looking to my family, that if they have to go through a season of waiting for a while, that at least they can come to me and I can kind of walk through some of the emotions they might experience along the way. But to tell them to take heart, take courage, stay the course, because in the waiting, God will meet you in a way that's so special that it look like any other place. Something about being in a place of the waiting to see what God does left. There's a faith that you tap into that allows you to stay in that waiting, trusting him, because you know that he is faithful. I look at Joseph.
Yeah.
Joseph, 22 years.
Slavery.
Waited for his dream.
Yeah.
13 of those years in slavery and in prison. So of those 22 years, he was told when he was young what the dream was going to be. Shared it with his brother. Maybe that was a big mistake.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Jealousy.
Maybe he could have shared a good bit but not said anything about them bowing down to him.
Oh, yeah.
It just said, the cliff notes.
Yeah, that dope coat didn't help either. You know what I mean? Yeah, he probably bragged about that jacket a little bit too. Yeah, like
It's gonna be so.
Y'all ain't get one.
I'm gonna bow down.
Y'all ain't get this jacket. You know what I'm saying?
I bet they made fun of him, though, in jail. Oh, okay, there goes his jacket.
Yeah.
Every time they put something on him, there it is.
Yeah. 22 years, dude.
That's cool.
Yeah.
From a kid who was not seeking that.
yeah.
Yep.
It was just foretold this is what's going to happen.
And think about this too: 22 years of using his gifts for somebody else, in service to your slave master, right? Revealing
Even
his
when
dreams.
You're doing well.
Yeah.
And then his wife.
Yeah, tries you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's trying to holler.
Yeah.
And you did right.
Yeah,
And you still did not reap the benefits to that.
yeah. That's crazy.
Like, yeah, that's dirty.
yeah, hecka dirty. It's mad dirty.
Yeah. And again, God uses him 22 years.
Yeah.
Moses.
Whew. Oh, for sure.
Moses is in the waiting. 40 years, he's learning, he becomes a shepherd. So he leaves the household of Potiphar and them and Pharaoh and them, and then he goes, and 40 years he's being a shepherd. Almost like God is using those 40 years to help him to learn how to shepherd and care for people.
Yeah.
He brings them back. He gets the people. He starts doing his thing. Now you got 40 more years you're going to be wandering in a desert.
With people acting a fool.
Acting a fool.
Yeah.
80 years, dog, from when the promise was being made to that, and then you can't even cross.
I was about to say.
Yeah, and then he gets-
now you can't even see it. Yeah.
No,
Now you can't even see it. It's crazy.
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
What I can appreciate about that story, even though it does seem like, oh, God, that was a little tough, that because he acted out,
Yeah.
and God's standard is what it is. He's true to his word. He held him to his standard the same way he would hold any of us.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can't. Clearly, it was not just because he was so irritated he struck that rock.
Yeah.
There was I would imagine there was a pattern. There was a posture of his heart that shifted. And he's like, you represent me, and the way you represented me was not me.
Yeah.
You can't.
Can't do it.
Golly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
40 years, Joshua was being raised by being in the desert, watching leadership. He gets to walk them through the promised land. David
Oh, man.
is like 15 years old. He gets anointed. You're going to be king.
Yeah.
15 years. He's about 30 when he becomes king finally. And even still, he gets to be a man after God's own heart. But when you look at David, man, it is so humbling to see that he gets to have that title with all the crap that.
Oh, yeah, it was a dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
Keeps
a dog,
faith
man.
in my life. At that point, I'm like, man, what I did was not so bad.
Yeah.
And then,
no.
like, he wasn't the greatest of a father.
No.
He allowed his son to get away with things that I just can't even imagine.
Yeah.
But again, you see God's mercy where he gets to be known as a guy after God's own heart. I'm like, yikes. But still, 15 years. The list goes on. And I don't know how long Job waited, but I could only imagine losing everything like he lost. And then physically the ailments of a boil. I don't know if you guys ever had a boil.
No.
Them things hurt like crazy.
How'd you get a boil?
I have no idea.
I wanna
One
talk
day I
about
went
that.
down to Fort Lauderdale and I had one on my side when I came back to school. And I thought I got bit by a poisonous spider because it welted up.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like rock solid.
Ooh, all that
And
nastiness in there.
And that opened up years of me I kept catching boils after that moment. There was one time I had like 27 on my side. And I got an indent in my knee. They had to literally cut it to get to the root to pull it out, and then they had to fill gauze in it. That's how deep it got on my knee.
Yeah.
Marilyn got it. A couple of the kids got it. Rough. I don't know, but bro, to think about his whole body being covered with that,
Yeah.
I couldn't even. You can't sit. You can't do anything, and that was small in the sense of you lost all your kids, everything. And I was like.
Then on
That
top of
waiting
that, you got
season.
your wife telling you to curse God
She
and die.
tripping.
You got your best friend.
She had never died, huh?
She no, we don't hear
She
nothing
just
about it.
watching him.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because it's like, woman, you're supposed to be
Yeah,
my
you're
partner.
supposed to be with me.
ride or
Yeah,
die.
man. I'm telling you.
It's like, man,
Oh, he got boils.
yeah, I got
Stay on that side, baby.
Stay over there,
I love you from afar.
yeah. Man.
So there's so many people we can look at in the Bible, and you see that waiting is a part of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think about Elijah.
Yeah,
You know, he was waiting to die,
yeah.
right? Running from Jezebel and King Ahab, man. I mean, literally, like, I could go at any minute. And praying to God, like, you gonna protect me? What's up? I mean, I did this act for you, right?
Yeah.
You got me? Not wondering at any moment I could get killed, right? For doing what God told me to do at the same time. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And they never specify how long he had to wait and how long he was on the run for. Yeah, so,
So when we look at all these examples of waiting, they are like substantial amount of time.
yeah.
And I just wonder, can we stay faithful to him being in that waiting season, allowing him to purge what needs to get purged, to show us and reveal certain things that need to be, Other things have nothing to do with where we're at and what we're not doing, but what other moving parts that he's waiting for certain things to happen. So like when I was, when I felt like, oh, God is telling me and telling us to move to Charlotte, a couple years back, I felt like that was going to be the move. I wanted it to be the move. But the difference was I was like, Lord, if this is you, you got to sell the house and you got to open up the right doors. So I put the house on the market. I ain't getting that one offer, dude. The same house, a couple years later when I was clear, I felt like God was like, you're going to move. These jokers offered $5,000 more over the price on their first offer. I'm like, this is a joke. Well, it came through, everything went through, sold it in a matter of weeks. So I'm like, yo, God is in this. Sold the house, moved in with my in-laws. Like, nah, I just got to get a job. We were with my in-laws for 2 years, waiting for me to find a job. And, you go through all those feelings. Oh, this is kind of embarrassing. Everyone doesn't see me sold my house.
Yeah.
I've been giving those praise reports. And every Sunday I'm coming back to service here in South Carolina. And how's things going? It got to a point where I was like, don't ask me that question. When something happens, I'm going to let you know.
Yeah.
But the more you ask me,
More
it
anxious.
reminds me of where I'm at. What I did not realize is when I came here and I moved up in March of 2020, worked for 3 months, was able to get the loan secure in 3 months and got a house. That the house that I got was in a neighborhood. These homes are like $400,000 and up. The house was under Sally Mae. If we moved at the very first moment when he told us to move, that house would not have been on the market. People were living there. The house went off the market. The people passed. It became vacant for so long. Sally Mae took over. They were having just legal issues with the house. The house was not ready and not in a position where, and at a price where I would even be able to get it. It was half the price of that. Wow. So I got for $220, I get a house that is now at about $450,000. It means nothing to me because I'm never planning on selling it. So I don't know where I get it.
Right.
But when I look at it, it was like, here I am frustrated. Lord, you making me wait 2 years. I love where we're at. And I'm thankful that we had to wait to get the house that we got. I didn't know all the moving parts.
No.
And there are times where that might be the reason, that might not. But that was the case for this scenario. So knowing that there are going to be times where you have to wait and you might have to wait a while. It might be a couple years. It might be 10 years. And what would be most encouraging is to have people of the faith come alongside you and be like, listen, you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
Look at them. 25, 30 years, 40 years, 80 years. You're good. Stay the course. I've been there. Like, I didn't have no one tell me that. All I had people telling me is, woof, I couldn't be you.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
I'm praying for you, brother. I'm like, am I doing something that weird? Nobody?
Yeah.
Like, it was tough at times. It was tough.
Yeah.
But there's that theme where he's in the waiting and just learning how to be patient in the waiting. It builds in us the ability to be patient, to make good decisions with a clear head versus getting anxious and just pull the trigger for whatever just finally came. So I see that there is such strength and such benefit to us choosing to live a life of faith, allowing God to remind us what truly matters, and that's faithfulness. At the end of the day, choosing to be in a season where you're waiting on the Lord. You're choosing to be faithful to him. And that faithfulness is what brings him glory, which brings us back to what my purpose is all about. My purpose is all about bringing you glory, God. So even in my waiting, I choose to do so with patience. I choose to do so with trust. I choose to do so with humility. I choose to do so just knowing you're growing me and you're always going to be on time. And I don't put this burden to try to impress.
No.
It's always dope to have a story where folks are like, wow,
amazing
by what your faith did. Dang, bro, your faith is crazy.
Yeah.
I just want to live a life that brings him glory. Like, that's what it's about. God knows what he needs and he knows what he's doing. So I look at Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Again, another famous passage. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. Verses like this is so important for us to cling to before we go through the storms.
Right.
To realize I got to trust in you in all things, not leaning on my own understanding. Because if he wants us to wait, it's always going to be for his good and for our good. But it does take courage to be in the waiting. It's not easy, but I definitely think it's going to always be worth it. Just like any other time when he's moved and came through, you realize, God, I wouldn't have it any other way. The way you unfolded your story through me, even through those moments I thought I was going to lose it. Even through those moments I thought I was mentally losing my mind. I was maybe frustrated, humiliated. You're in the waiting. So when it comes to our faith, realizing that when it comes to our faith, you got to cling to our faith to know that there will be a season of waiting you have to go through. Whether it was like someone like Paul, that he went through a conversion, went into teaching and studying. We don't know how long he went through that waiting period before he was released to be the Paul that we see. We also don't know how long he was in prison every time he got in prison.
Yeah.
And then got shipwrecked.
It was a lot.
And then got thrown in jail again.
Yeah.
And you're like, Lord, I'm just doing what you're telling me to do. Can I get a little favor?
Yeah.
You know?
I always think poor Barnabas.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like,
At one
can
point,
I get
Tom
someone
Barnabas
else?
like, yeah.
Can I get Thomas? You know, Paul be wilding, man. We always end up in jail. You know? Yeah. Peter was like, I'm out. I can't deal with him. You know?
Right.
We just
So you always acting like Anthony Mason. You know?
I hope they do come out with a movie with Paul, man. I hope
Yeah,
they do it right, because
yeah.
I would love to see
That'd be
what
dope.
he looks like.
That'd be dope. Well,
Yeah. But again, I definitely appreciate y'all just making time to kind
No,
of just
thank
chop it
you.
up with faith, because
you.
one thing about me, like, I like hearing people's stories, hearing how people see things, because there's a big picture when it comes to our faith and what God is doing. And if I only look through it through my lens, it's just a narrow view of what this picture is about. But when you get to hear people's stories, when you get to hear people still trying to discover what it is that they're called to do, it is encouraging, even though it might not always be encouraging to have to share it. But you just never know how encouraging your story will be to other people, because other people are trying to figure it out. And then they're like, yo, the Joker's 40, he's trying to figure it out. There's so many folks that hit that exact season of their life where they're trying to figure it out, but they don't want to open up because they're like, I'm supposed to know all this stuff by now.
That's hard, man. Like, you know, especially like your peers.
Yeah.
The assumption is at 40, I should be wearing mandals, which is open-toe sandals that strap at the top.
Well, you don't have them on today, but
the barbecue
I should
daddies.
be.
Yeah, the barbecue
You know, like,
daddies.
and I shouldn't be into the stuff that I'm into. Like, I should, like, I know it sounds crazy, but like growing up, you know, at this age, I should have a mustache. I should be cutting lawn.
yeah.
I should be, you know, dressing bad. I should be doing all those things.
You don't cut lawn, man? You don't cut your lawn?
I got HOAs. I pay way
So
too much money for that,
Man,
bro.
Yeah.
I wish I cut my own
Look at
lawn.
it,
It's like
moving
this
on out.
big.
I'm saying you don't even own a pair of chanclas. At this
Never.
point, you know?
These toes
Like,
don't see the light of day. I keep them clean, but they're
Yeah.
not for your eyes. Some
Only
people
for
catching
Pam,
pictures
though.
of those things.
And for Pam, you can have
Those
that.
are my
though,
feet.
man.
Yeah, that's real.
I'm a sock guy, you know?
Not bad.
Not
I
bad at all.
appreciate that. I appreciate that, man.
No, but it is tough, man. And but one thing I can say is even through all of it and not understanding, not that I don't understand, but not knowing the right step to take, I still have faith in my God, and I still don't worry about certain things, and I still trust in the Lord,
Yeah.
even when times are tough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just sometimes it's all you got and it's all you need.
That's it.
I know, you
Straight
know,
up.
like
And I think moments like this where you get to hear someone else saying, spot on, you're spot on. That's 100% right. We walk by faith, not by sight. And we won't have it all together, but we'll all cross the same finish line at the end of the day. And we all strive to live a life that brings God's glory. So appreciate y'all for coming through, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
So on that note, dream the dreams that God has placed inside of you. Live the life that he has called you to, and love the way he loves you. Grace and peace.